recording start.
So we can start now. Uh,
Okay,
Dubade
I'm
can
starting.
introduce our speaker, and yes, Anand can uh, on your camera so that people can see you. Yes, yeah, yep. That is good. So Dubade can introduce our speaker and facilitator
Okay,
for
fine.
this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good afternoon and welcome all who are joining with us. I'm Eliza, hosting this session on behalf of Agile Tool Bangladesh and Management 3.0. And as usual, we have Learnivo as our learning partner. It's our third webinar and previous session has been uploaded on our YouTube channel. You will find all the links on our chat window, just the right corner of your screen. Feel free to share with your FNF and all the things. Today's session is about 80 minutes and 5 minutes will be question answer session. And all you can put your query on your chat window. And here we have Mr. Anand who will conduct this webinar. In a short brief, Mr. Anand is working with people and organizational change management to successfully drive strategic information towards greater value delivered for customers with his leadership experience in Lean Agile. He's already joined with us. Stay tuned, and if you feel an interruption, feel free to share with us on the chat window. Okay, Mr. Anand, you can start your session now.
Elizabeth, for a wonderful introduction of mine. Right, let me share my screen first. So now how to do that? Can I be made a present? Tawfiq, bhai, if you can make me a presenter, I can screen.
Yes, I have made you organizer. Yes, now we can.
Yeah. Just confirm if you can see the screen.
Yep, we can see the screen.
All right. So, want to know the best way to demotivate a team? Just keep them away from seeing how their work impacts your customers. Let me ask you two very simple questions. Does your team feel overwhelmed during the performance evaluation time? What to And does your team often complain that they cannot connect what they are doing with the things organization want to achieve? And if you have a resounding yes to both the questions, then you are not alone. Can I just request everybody who's not speaking to please go on mute, just to avoid the distraction and for the benefit of others? Thanks, that appreciate that. Yeah. So if you have an answer yes to both the questions, then you're not alone. Every year, every organization, every employee go through this predicament. So this session is for you. We'll be directly going to the deep dive onto the activities. This is more activity oriented, but we'll cover some of the theories. So we are uh, we are going to introduce you with some very simple techniques and tools with which you can achieve the alignment. No, I'm not talking about how to get out of the system or out of your organization, but staying within your organization, within your system, and being able to bring the changes. But with a disclaimer, this works only on an organization where experimentation is respected, and it's not just that you have to succeed all the time. All right, so brace yourself. We have a lot to cover, and we start with some basic introduction, some theory, so that we're all on the same page. So, what's an objective? It all starts with an objective. What's your goal? What's your mission? What do you want to achieve? The question will be, why is this goal important to us as an individual, as a team, and as an organization? And what difference do we want to make? Now, here I'll be giving very simple example, and as we go ahead, we'll have some more examples to cover. But let's just assume as an example of improving health. So, with that as an objective, the key result is How will we know that we have achieved the objective? How will we measure and observe the difference? So in this case, I have had a key result, which is maintain BMI at 20 for the quarter 3 of 2020. Now, if you notice, the objectives are qualitative. They don't have to be quantified. They shouldn't be quantified. Whereas key results should be smart goals. They should be able to quantify following the smart definition. And these are lagging indicators. But it doesn't happen by itself. Lagging indicator or any behavior doesn't just change by itself. You don't achieve your goal just by looking at it. There has to be something happening, and not just by you, but also different people. So, who are those people? Let's call them as actors. So, whose behavior we want to change? Who are our internal and external stakeholders, and who can help or hinder the desired change? So, let's take an example that you are from a software development company and that's your team. Who are your actors? Your actors are the upstream and downstream suppliers. It could be your product team, your release team, your some vendor who are who are helping you in achieving your objective. And then there's a sponsor who's sitting who's at top of the hierarchy, who's sponsoring it, who's looking at the viability of the solution. And then there are customers who are paying for it, and then the desirability aspect. And then there are consumers or the users who are using from the usability perspective. So when you want to achieve your key results or your objectives, then you have to consider various actors. In this example, I've just considered me as an actor, but that's just a simplistic version, that I have to do something for my BMI or my health to improve, which will be resonated by a BMI reduction. Impact. So, yeah, we have identified the actors, but what will their behavior be demonstrated? The question that we want to ask is, how can they help us in achieving the goal? And how can they hinder us from achieving our goals? So it's not just there are always the protagonists, they are antagonists as well. So we have to consider both the side for us to work on the people side of the change management. And how will their role or behavior need to change? And what will they do? What will be they able to do? In this case, again, as I was saying, it's very simplistic. I have to do exercise for me to achieve the goal. But why will I do that? If we have read about books or articles about neuroscience, we don't want to move from our complacent state. Our brain has expended lots of energy staying onto or trying to build the behavior that we have, and we don't want to change that behavior. So unless we show them some positive thing, or and even better, show them what's negative in the current scenario, anybody will not be motivated to move from the current state. So here we'll have to find out what problem do they have in the current situation, and what do they feel about the current situation. So the pain that I have highlighted is I don't know how to do exercise. And another pain, why will I be excited to improve my health? I should have listed over here another pain point about my health consequences. I'm getting overweight. But anybody who has seen me, I'm a lean guy, so this is not practically applied to me as well. Okay, so we have identified pain points. We have identified what's their current behavior, what's their future behavior should be, and whose are they, and how will we know whether we have achieved the goal. Now it's time to come up with the set of initiatives or activities or projects that we have to build in order to support their behavior. So the question that we have to ask is, what do we need to do as an action to support the change, and what do we need to do as an action to influence that person? So here we are talking about some of those activities, the real thing. When the rubber meets the road, activities happens over here. So here I was talking about, because I was catering to the pain of don't know how to. So the health instruction guide would be good enough to begin. I assume people are clear with these definitions. And with that, let's move forward. So now I'm taking an end-to-end example. Again, it's not related to our day-to-day work, but we'll cover day-to-day work when we do practically. To further enhance our concept, I'm taking an objective of reducing road congestion. So for me to reduce the road congestion, I can measure that road congestion has reduced if I see that the number of cars has reduced by 30% at a certain time frame, and that the road capacity has increased by 20% by certain time frame. Now, the moment we look at this key result of increased road capacity, people may jump up that, okay, we'll have to construct road. But no, construction of road is just one of the way to increase the capacity. Why, what am I emphasizing is that let's keep the initiatives from the key results separate. For example, if we take our case, we don't have to, for us to increase the capacity, we don't have to work more hours. We'll have to find out those wasteful activities. If we can just remove that, our capacity itself increases, right? But at the end, it's the capacity increased. How you achieved that? By working more hours, or if I relate it over here, by creating more roads, or by just removing wasteful activities, or something doing what Delhi government, if people would have heard about it, the odd even ways of taking out the cars, or having the trucks go at midnight and not during the daytime. So there are lots of permutations and combinations you can play around achieving the key results. So I'm again emphasizing, let's keep the initiatives out of the key results. And in order to achieve my road capacity, I'm my actor. I have identified as PWD department, the public welfare department. But let's focus onto the reduce of the cars. We will track onto this track. So the car owners are the ones we have anticipated if they can help us in achieving these key results. But what's the behavior that we want the car owners to demonstrate? We want them to start taking public transport. But why will they take public transport? Why are they not taking public transport? I can do it this way as well. Because they find that the public transport buses are overcrowded and there are very less frequency of the buses. Fine. So how about building an application which allows them to pre-book the seats? So that way, if I deliver a app for a pre-booking of the seats, then the pain of the actors goes off and they'll start taking the public transport, and that will result in the cars reduction on the road. Very well and fine. And that's how most of the organizations, even if they do bother to do this all activities, they start building the app. But the market volatility changes. It changes very much. And we'll have to always, and that's what the organizational agility is. How frequently are we going to inspect and adapt our plan? And this very good example is the COVID-19 lockdown, right? Now, if you saw overall, these are all the assumptions. I'm assuming that the behavior of car owners, it's car owners only if they demonstrate the behavior will be able to achieve the key results. If they start taking public transport, we'll have a reduction in the car owners, cars on the road. Or if we build an app, then immediately they'll start using that app and immediately we'll start seeing the objective. These are all our assumptions, which we will have to validate, and that goes deep onto, and this is not part of the webinar, we can't complete that, about going through the design thinking and doing our design sprint to validate our assumptions, or even like how we identified an actor through persona, or how we identified the pain point through empathy map. There's too much of it. I'm just covering at a high level because of the time frame that we have. And whatever backlog items we have identified are all experiments, because these are, the moment we start saying that these are the features that we have to do, we are getting onto the feature factory, even if the market changes. uh, sorry to take a pause in between, because we have still have the network outage, so I might just get disconnected in between. Confirm me in between if I'm still audible. Tofik, in between I'll just ping you. Am I audible? All right. Whenever you stop hearing me, just either send me a WhatsApp message, and I'll just see if I'm connected or not. All right. So we have. So these are the experiments. We have to acknowledge that these are experiments. They may fail, and on top of that, we show true business and organizational agility when we consider that because of COVID-19, the lockdown has happened. The cars are anyways going to reduce, but for a time frame. So this was a completely new concept that we can reduce the number of cars not by just encouraging car owners to take public transport, but also by work from home. So if car owners can start working from home and company employees start allowing from work from home, we don't have to even take that track. And right now, the true agility shows that if we were building such an app, we should have stopped building an app and we should have gone this track. So why are they not working from home? Because they think that there will be a productivity impact. Okay, so that's the pain. How about building a collaboration tool which will help in improving the productivity impact? right? So we stopped building the pre-booking seats app and we started building the collaboration tool. Again, it's our assumption that building this collaboration tool will help in elevating their pain of productivity impact. And once they start looking at the gain in productivity, at least from the transition period, they'll allow the company employers will start people from working from home. I hope that makes sense, right? All right, so moving forward, OKR is as I said, it's a agility. We'll have to keep on cycling. We'll have to loop back. People who have worked on any of the agile framework like Scrum, they know that we have to inspect and adapt in iteration. That's the same as OKR as well. We set an objective, we align. So that's how we did with impact mapping. We aligned across the organization. Now if I just go back here, anybody who's developing this collaboration tool, anybody or the team who would have been asked to stop building this pre-booking seat and app and start building a collaboration tool, they'll not be worried that, okay, why did they have to do that? Why did the organization suddenly change their mind? They'll immediately, and they were participating on this whole exercise, they will know that, okay, why this change happened. And that's what the alignment we are talking about. So we align it, we achieve it, and we again inspect it. So this is the loop that we have. Because we have limited time, we cannot go too deep into it, but I have got this article. uh, just bear with me for a second. In LinkedIn, which I'm not sure why. Just wait a second. I can see it is. Yeah. So this is the link which tells about how do we identify who are the sponsor people who have to involve, what are the steps, what are the challenges, how do we prioritize that, how do we align it, how do we implement initiatives, how do we review our OKRs, with a simple example. So I'm not going deep into it. In this slide, it's shared the link. You may just go through that, and I'm always available for if you need any clarification offline. Another disclaimer, I have not covered too deep onto the theoretical aspect of OKR. You may always refer to Felipe Castro. I'll be sharing the link later on to understand the basic concept. And I have got a slide as well I can share offline for people to understand the theoretical aspect of it. This is more around how we apply OKR into our context. All right. So let's have grasped the concept or not. So the participants here in this uh, screen, you see set of objectives and key results. They are not interrelated. They're all discrete. What you'll have to do is in your paper, just list down which of these objectives are really an objective and which are key results and which are ones are not actually key result or an objective based on whatever you have understood till now. I'll give you an example. So objective 2 to the left side, increase drivers in system. Yes, this sounds an objective because this qualifies the definition that this is qualitative and this is an ambition. I can't measure that. On the other hand, if I'm taking increase numbers of stores by 20%, I'm quantifying that. So this is not an objective. Uh, Fair enough. So you have a minute. Take your notebook. Just put that by numbers. Objective one, false. Objective two, true. Whatever the case it be, and then we'll take it from there. You don't have to tell me the answers. We'll do that later on. Your time starts now. Tofik, you may unmute everybody if they have any question right now in this 1 minute. All right. So our time is up. Let's mute everybody back. We'll go to the result later on. Tofik, you may mute everybody once again. So this is an example of a bad oak.
And you are mute also. You need to unmute, please. Yeah, we can hear you now. Please go ahead.
Anand, please unmute and Nazmul, can you unmute him?
I guess it's long that people didn't hear me, right? Let me cover once again. So, yeah, this is a typical example. Objective increase profit by 10%. We have quantified that and implement a supplier registration system and save 10% on purchases. So here we have mixed an initiative with with a key results. So saving 10% on purchases is one of the ways to increase profit, and implementation of a supplier registration system is one of the ways to save on purchases. But the way this was written, it's just mixed the initiative and objective and key results. And there's a reason for us to separate these three, and this is how a good OKR, the same thing that I have updated, should look like. Increase of profit. And how will I know that I've increased the profit? If I see the reduction of 10% on purchases by quarter one, reduction by 25% on distribution, and increase of revenue by 100% from the past year of Q4. These are the three ways in which, if achieved, I'll know that I've increased my profit. But these are not the only ways. Let me take health as an example. Improve health. So I'm started measuring BMI. So if I say that if I my objective would have been improve health, improve BMI by 20%, and that means that I have improved my health, I might be wrong because I might have improved my BMI to 20, but my blood pressure or sugar would have elevated. That means I still would have not achieved my health goal, right? So here, increase profit. These are just the three of the ways. There are multiple ways where you can measure your profit. And even for reducing 10% on purchases, one of the initiatives was implement a supplier registration system. There could be many other ways. But what happens in most of the organizations and teams is we start getting obsessed with these initiatives and we start focusing on the output and not the outcome. We end up being a feature factory. We implement a supplier registration system and we start clapping and patting our back, and nobody uses this supplier registration system, and but we still call ourselves success, but that doesn't show us onto reduction in the purchase, and that's not contributing to the overall increase in the profit. And that's the reason, if I would have made it clear, why we should have the key results and objectives and initiatives separate. Fair enough. So let's again look at this with that understanding and see whether you still want to retain the answers that you have on what objectives were correct and what were wrong in the same with key results. And this is the right answer. Tofik, if you may unmute everybody, and if anybody has a concern, because we have to be clear on what the objectives are, what the key results are, if there's any confusion. And I have to remember that I have to unmute myself. Any question on this? Any discrepancy on what you answered and what the answer over here is, and you think it differently? If not, then let's mute everybody back, and I have to myself.
Uh,
Do you have any questions?
Actually, to all the audience, if you really check the user interface, at the bottom right, you have a hand. I mean, on the just below the box where you can type, there's a hand gesture, and you can actually raise your hand. I wish to speak, or you can just say, I mean, if you have any questions or like this idea, then we can actually unmute you to share your questions. Okay? Then we don't have to unmute every time. So if you
That's
have
great.
any question, you just raise your hand. Thank you.
That's great, sir. Thanks for letting us know. I don't have to go through this predicament each time. All right. So uh, I guess we have to mute everybody and unmute me.
Yes, we
And I'm still unmute, right? Yes, yeah. Okay,
yes
let's continue.
we can hear you.
Okay, now let's look at this once again of how refreshing whatever we discussed, the reason why we had this different key results and different actors and different impacts, pains, and backlog. We started with a very pious goal of reducing road congestion, and we had an intended consequences of we started building an app, intended consequences, reducing road congestion, everything fine. But world doesn't go that way. There are lots of unintended consequences. Let me repeat that: unintended consequences. Something that you were not anticipating, something that you were not prepared of. You have to consider those as well. Let me introduce you with causal loop diagram. People who would have read system thinking, Peter Senji's books and all stuff, they will understand this. But nevertheless, let's start with a very simple diagram explanation. Here, it did know what causal loop diagram is. Unlike the causal diagram, the fishbone Ishikawa diagram, where it's always a cause and effect, in causal loop diagram, it suggests that there is a cause which has an effect, which will have a cause, which will have an effect, which will feed back onto the first cause which was there. So you will never know your current behavior is not just impacting your future actions or the past actions that you have taken. So you'll have to think from a holistic perspective. Let's see, and then we can better understand it. So the legends, red line shows negative balancing loop, blue line shows positive reinforcing loop. What that means, we'll again see over here. Basically, positive is it's a direct proportional relationship. Negative means inverse proportional relationship. So we have a pressure to reduce traffic congestion. This is the goal that we started with. We did our impact mapping, as we saw over here, and we started building it out. But then when we have a pressure to reduce traffic congestion, we start construction of a road. And when we start construction of road, the road capacity increases. Assume that we have got with the initiative of construction of road as the only option of increasing the road capacity. When the road capacity increased, the travel time reduced. If you see, the red line denotes the inversely proportional relationship. When the travel time reduced, the pressure to reduce the traffic congestion also reduced. So that means I should stop the initiative. And this sounds very perfect. And this is how we would have gone otherwise, looking at the impact map. But as I said, we have to look systemically. What are the other variables coming into play? So when the travel time reduces, the attractiveness to driving increases. When I see that I can reach a place where I was reaching 20 minutes, now it's take only 5 minutes. So the attractiveness of driving increases. And when the attractiveness of driving is augmented by the public transport fare, in a sense, the lesser the the more is the public transport fare, the more is the attractiveness of driving. In a sense, if your public transport is costing you X amount, which is more than you anticipate, then you'll prefer driving by yourself. Or if there is less number of public transport, then your attractiveness will increase. That gets further exacerbated if the public transport patronage is missing. So there are certain places, especially if people know in Calcutta, there's very less public transport. If you see Delhi, they have less public transport. So the attractiveness of driving increases because they don't have public transport, right? When attractiveness of driving increases, the trip per day increases. When the trip per day increases, the traffic volume increases. When the traffic volume increases, the travel time increases. When travel time increases, the pressure to reduce traffic congestion increases. Now you saw that we started with pressure to reduce traffic congestion and we ended up being there even after we have constructed the road. It doesn't stop there. The cars in the city is decided based on the population in the city and heavily discounted cars. And these adds to the traffic volume. And the traffic volume and the road congestion adds to the air pollution. So when we started with the pressure to reduce traffic congestion, we actually added more traffic congestion, we added more roads, we added to the air pollution. How we could have avoided this? By, and this is no way less, because if you see, I have missed out the number of cars in the city is also dependent on the fuel price. If the fuel suddenly is so very less, for example, the fuel price in Delhi is less compared to Calcutta, and might be that's one of the reasons why we see number of cars in Delhi more than Calcutta. Right. So even that is one of the factors that we have to take into consideration. So when we are imbibing onto the goal of reducing traffic congestion, we'll have to identify various players into this. Players like public transport department, players like the population control department, the players, the immigration department, the the car dealers, the fuel prices, and lots of air pollution department. So we'll have to consider these actors and their behavior. Why will the car dealer help you in achieving your traffic congestion reduction? Why will the public transport department help you in reducing your traffic congestion? Right. So now you again think, are these the only actors required for us to achieve the road congestion, reduce the road congestion? No, we'll have to improve. You might say that, oh man, that's very painful. We can't have so much of an activity. But fine, just there's no obligation for you to stay into the business. You can always go off market, you can go extinct by delivering just these features and not considering other parameters. I hope that makes sense. And systemic diagram is if you think that this is related to a very complex scenario of a reduced traffic congestion, let's see this one. Manager supportive behavior, this is a typical that we see in our organization. So manager supports few people, doesn't support other people. Typical biases that we see. And when they start demonstrating their supportive behavior toward any one of the employee's performance increases. And when the employee's performance increases, the manager's supportive behavior increases. Doesn't stop there. Employee's performance cannot keep on going infinite. To further get a manager's supportive behavior, the employee starts working long. The more this manager's supportive behavior, the more he is working. And the more he is working, the more is the burnout. And the more is the burnout, that reduce the employee's performance. And when employee's performance reduces, the manager's supportive behavior reduces. And it's a vicious circle. So to break that, when we're putting employee, just let me just take a break. Sorry for that. So when we are talking about improving employee performance, we might just be considering actor as an employee, whereas we should be having manager as one of the actors. And what are the backlog that we have to include might be HRs as well. So the number of hours being worked should be restricted, and that the manager should be supporting irrespective of whether his employees are performing or not. So these are the things that you have to consider. You must. Otherwise, you might just be pushing your employee to perform further without any benefit, right? Nasmul, any questions so far by any people? All right, so let's take it forward. So what we will do now is we will try to practically do this. People have, I suppose, the access to the Miro map, uh, Miro link that Tawfiq would have sent. So people can log into that link. I'll give you 2-3 minutes. Anybody struggling, just raise your hand and we can help you technically of how to get into the screen. The intention is that we have seen the objective key result actors impact pain backlog. Right now, we are into a very good scenario of establishing the work from home culture, and COVID-19 just helped us onto the situation. So let's start with the objective itself of uh, just a second. So let's start with the objective itself of how to establish the work from home culture within the organization. That's the objective. And one of the key results, if you see in the screen, is 30% employees are working from home even after lockdown. And when I see this as a key result, I know that my objective of establishing work from home culture is established, is there, it's going to stay. What the need is now, you can start feeling free. For people who just look at my screen, or if you have not used Miro before, onto the extreme left side, which I have highlighted as a sticky note, all you'll have to do is just drag a sticky note and put it at different places: actors, impact, pain, backlog, and put what you feel like as key result, what you feel like as an impact, and just try to connect the dots using these dots. So if you feel that this is another key result which should be captured, and this is the another actor which should be captured for me to achieve the objective, feel free. Any question, raise hand. This activity is for next 5 minutes, where people will crowdsource the information of how to achieve the objective. Your time starts now, and I'm available for any question on this. So for people who have opened the link and they are not able to see it, you'll have to just zoom out completely and go to the top left of your page. There you'll be able to see a frame called impact mapping. So Zubeda, I can see you. You are navigating your mouse, so you may just put a key result. It doesn't have to be correct. Let's be very clear. It's okay to be wrong. And that's what the psychological safety of a team brings. You can be wrong, but just start putting it. That's where your discussion starts. So the objective won't change, your key results, till your backlog can keep on changing. And just one impact in one sticky note. You don't have to put lots of that. Guys, go ahead. Start contributing, because that demonstrates whether you have got the concept or not. And if you don't have, this gives me an opportunity to fill the gap. Anybody who's struggling to find out that page impact mapping, because I see Zafar and Zubeda only contributing. Wasim is saying he can't access. So Wasim, were you? I hope you were able to send from Hotmail account. So there's a URL which Eliza just now pinged onto the messenger. Wasim, if you may try to open that and just use any of your login ID to just get into the that. If you're still struggling, let us know. And for others who are still not able to see the screen, go into Miro. They can at least see the screen of how it's all developing. But maybe I've created an account with different email. See, try this URL that I've just now sent. Or give me your email ID and I'll just include that specifically. Anybody who wants, just drop your email ID here in this chat window and I'll include them specifically. Anyone else? So I see some more people who have come in. Oh, wow. Swetha has identified COVID-19 as an actor. That's really wonderful. Tofik, you may want to put some. I see that you're there. I'll just wait for another minute, and if I see that there's no more action, then I'll just start working. As I said, there's nothing wrong, there's nothing right. This is the whole collaborative forum. And we knowing the management 3.0, that's what it's important, the collaboration. Otherwise, in the management 2.0, it was all the managers who were setting the goal and we were getting the backlog only. There was no voice platform for us to raise our voice about, okay, who are the actors, what the impact is, stuff like that. So the sticky note is the one that has a curved dogtail onto the left pane. So sure is, I guess you're trying to find out the sticky note. So onto the left pane, you see just below the alphabet T on that pane. That's the sticky note. Or you may just copy paste any of the sticky notes that's already there. You may just select any of the sticky notes and just copy paste it and write your own. So Wasim, I've sent you an invite. All right, so let's take a pause over here from whatever is happening and look at the screen once again. I'll just clarify some of the doubts which may help us to just revisit it once again. All right. So establishing work from home culture within organization. Guys, if you just please look into the screen and we'll again come back to this and we'll start working on it. So establishing work from home culture within the organization was the objective. And the key result, I'll take input from different people and try to fit in where it should have been. Right. So that will give you an opportunity to inspect where you were going wrong or right. So 30% employees, uh, productivity improvement, that could be one of the key results. Right. And the actors, COVID-19, engineers, virtual team members. Right. Impact, what behavior, let me repeat the definition, what behavior do you want demonstrated which will help me achieve the key results? So one of the behavior, and that's a very key behavior, was trust. We'll have to trust people, and then only it will help us in achieving the key results. Who needs to trust whom? Virtual team members needs to trust each other, right? And employee engagement is a key result which will let me know that, okay, sorry, I was thinking employee engagement as a backlog item, but I can very well put that as a key result also. In a sense, if I see employee engagement has increased, that means work from home culture is working, and that has to be done by virtual team members, and they have to demonstrate trust. And why they are not trusting each other? Because there is an accountability lacking. How we can improve the accountability? That's what your initiative is. Might be some team building activity, or might be something that we have not yet brainstormed. Let's take different track. Productivity improvement by the engineers. Impact, people can give more time to family and work. Now that's the impact. That's a behavioral change. But how do can we what behavior can they change? That's an outcome, the collateral outcome, that they can spend more time with their family. But how, what behavior will they demonstrate which will help us understand that yes, the productivity has improved? So that's what was missing over here. And why are they not being productive, or why are they not giving more time to the family, comes over here as pain, balancing personal and professional life. So what do we have to do? Might be a digital transformation. One of the initiatives could be impact. People are struggling with this culture. Now I saw that discomfort with this culture, people struggling with this culture, these are current scenario. Impact is always talking about the future scenario. What behavior change do we want to see in them? Pain is about the current scenario. So whatever we have listed here, people struggling with this culture, discomfort with this culture, these all go onto the pain. Impact on team not to synchronize with their goal, that's the pain. So what can we do so that they can synchronize with their goal? Some emotional factor rise which may affect on a whole team. So how can we elevate or remove these emotional factors? Make sense? Struggling to adopt virtual office, that's the pain. More meetings to join, that's the backlog. You might be thinking that, okay, what's in the name? It's just about putting it onto the different factors. But if you would have listened to the previous examples that I gave, these are the opportunities. And when you start plotting your systemic diagram, you will identify it's not just the backlogs that will help you achieve, it's to identify the gaps also, which may be able to help you go through it. So again, giving you an opportunity, if you want to share some more thoughts onto this diagram, put something more. You can start putting your backlog items as well. Doesn't have to be correct. You can just put anything. X, Y, Z is also okay. So basically, you're saying that X, Y, Z will help in elevating the, increasing the team accountability. That's fine. Basically, you're knowing what's the right place for what box. So giving you another 5 minutes. Let me
Yeah,
see if anybody else.
Anand, can I ask you something?
Sure.
Okay, so as I put digital transformation in backlog, so what do you think? Can we slice the digital transformation backlog into multiple backlogs here?
Yes, and that will be covering toward the end. But this initiative is more around aligning that why am I doing digital
Okay,
transformation? It's not to increase revenue, it's to increase the work from home culture.
right,
That's
right,
the straight line. We have got now a straight view of why am I doing this. And if I'm
right.
scrapping digital transformation, what am I losing?
Okay.
And who are the actors in my digital transformation? I understand, Tofik. You start in the beginning itself, you put digital transformation somewhere in the objective, and you might be expecting some other discussion or outcome or some answer to your questions. And if not, then I'm sorry. But the intention of this workshop was this alignment, slicing of the story. If you are guys are okay, we can have subsequent webinars on not just slicing. We'll have prioritization as well. We'll
Yes,
talk on.
absolutely right. You are. Yeah.
In the meantime, people feel free to ask the question, because if we don't have any question on this, then I assume that you would have understood it. But you should be having questions on this, especially the differentiation on these different blocks, and why are we emphasizing on the differentiation. So feel free to put your questions onto the chat box, and I'm happy to answer. Joris, if I've spelled that name correctly, you were awesome. Basically, you have contributed a lot, and it really made sense the way you did it. uh, Looking forward to meet you. We have 2 more minutes and then we will move ahead. Start putting some backlog because just some placeholders. And we need to connect these dots because it's not that all these impacts are applicable for all the actors. So we need to know which all impact actors are impacted by which all stuffs, right? So to join the dots, you see an arrow just above a pencil on onto the left pane. So you should use those to join it. All right, so let's stop here. This exercise, you may always continue and feel free to provide me. You can update on this screen itself, and we can have an offline discussion of what your thoughts are. This link is always available. The screen is always available. So right now we have. Let's focus back to the screen. We have lots of backlog items. We start putting those backlog items. Generally, if people are aware of a user story format, as an actor, I want to this feature so that this is the behavior, this is the outcome that I want. So as an actor persona, I want this output so that I demonstrate this outcome. Let's expand this a bit further. In order to achieve a goal, as an actor, I want to use this feature so that I demonstrate this behavior because of the current pain that I have. Let's put it onto that traffic congestion example. So, in order to reduce road congestion, as a car owner, I want a pre-booked seat so that I can take public transport because public transports are crowded. These items goes onto the backlog. Not just putting as and I want to so that we can even include the pain as well as the goal that we want to achieve because this helps in alignment. Why am I doing it basically? Not just the outcome, but the impact as well. Make sense? There's another way we can put that. This is the hypothesis format. So we believe that building an app to pre-book a seat for car owners will achieve reduction in road congestion. We will know this is true when we see reduction in car owners on road by 30% by Q4 2020. Now you see how the whole OKR and impact map is just crisp over here. So you don't have to demonstrate that whole impact map to everybody. Once you have done that exercise, all these items goes onto your backlog. But you can't do everything. And that's what if we do have subsequent workshops about prioritization. How do we prioritize? How do we set FIP limits? How do we get focused? There are different ways to prioritize quantitative, qualitative, cost of delay, weighted shortage of first, Kano model. We can talk about that. That's not onto the context of this webinar. So we put these at the end of the exercise. We have a backlog which always changes as we saw, right? We changed our backlog when we came to know about the work from home culture. So our backlog is always evolving. All right. So we are coming toward the end of the webinar. Want an endorphin release? Here's how to get one if you have not yet got till now. Again, back to that same Miro. What you have to do is you have 3 minutes to quickly write down 5 most important facts you have just learned. Let me show you that. You go back to your mirror screen, zoom in, if you're screen looking at my screen, and you see summary over here, and you zoom that particular part out. And you'll have to again put sticky notes. Feel free, whatever ideas, whatever thing that you think you have learned, and feel free to put it over there. Your time starts now. And I already see Zubeda in the right pixel. 3 minutes, at least 5 things that you think you have learned. Zoom out, scroll to the top of the page, you see summary pane and use sticky notes. Feel free to share your ideas. And how you're going to use it, even that also helps. Like how are you going to use it? All right. So we have got some interesting points, though very less, but still, nevertheless, it's all good. Let's get back to the screen. So wrapping it up. So we framed quantitative outcome measurement using OKR and not by opinion. Being mindful of the unintended consequences through causal loop diagram, linked the work that we do with results we want using impact mapping. What we didn't cover was how do we come up with these objective itself that comes as a strategy themes. We didn't go deep onto a causal loop diagram of how to even come up with fresh thoughts. And the reasons are because we can't cover that within just 1.5 hours. We didn't have properly 1 hours 20 minutes of time, but feel free to explore that. And these are I missed out the link, but I'll be sharing you read through OKR through Felipe Castro. So OKR came from John Doerr, and he recently wrote a book, Measure What Matters. But I strongly insist people to read Felipe Castro's blogs. It's awesome. System thinking, you can just look at the site, it's called a systemthinker.com. And for impact mapping, you read the book Impact Mapping book itself. For practice, you really take an example because that's how you learn. Once you start and form a pair, start and experiment this within your circle of influence. Try to see if you can introduce that. That's the best way to learn. I'm very happy to connect with you people. That's my LinkedIn, email ID, WhatsApp, and my YouTube channel. And now I'm available to any question. Nazmul, if there's any question, please throw at me, and I'm happy to answer those if I have it. Otherwise, I'll try to help you find out that answer. So now, did you find that interesting? Any observation? Any question? Any feedback of how I could have improved the session, the delivery, and the content? Was it too boring on a Saturday evening? I guess Lisa has a question. Or let's be specific, she wants to speak. Whether she has a question or a comment, not sure. So, Tawfiq, if you may unmute her.
Hello. So, Anand, as per my perception, is really a new concept for us. I guess so. So I think we need more session about that, and we are really thinking for that about for this session. I guess so, because all on the Miro template is already new for us. So it's really sometimes I feel so confused to mapping all the things. So I guess I need more session about this. I think all the participants would agree with me also.
Yeah, I'm available. You can always get in touch with Tawfiq and Safur, and we can collaborate. Any specific topic or anything in general, and not just limited to this OKR. It's to do with anything which you can throw at me. If I know about it, then I'm happy to share it.
No, it's really a new things for me also. Me, I don't know, is really my familiar for others also. So this only I guess only 80 minute session not enough for me. I think I to more dig it out for this, dig it in with this template or the OKRs things to implement.
Yeah, I really appreciate and encourage that you to read through few of the blogs, and if you have any specific, if you want to walk me through your example, sharing your screen one-on-one also, and if you have a group of people you want to demonstrate one of your complete impact mapping and want my feedback, feel free to buzz me and I'm available.
Oh, sure.
So if
Thank
there's
you,
no more
everyone.
question, then I hand it over to Tawfiq and Zafar.
Thanks, Anand. Thanks for your wonderful presentation and insightful learning also. So I'm requesting now Lisa to conclude this session and share other details with participants and others also. Thank you.
Thanks,
I think
Lernivo, for having me.
oh yes, we will personally contact with you. But thank you, Mr. Anand, for this interactive session, and really I'm enjoying a lot.
Thanks for
Uh,
having me.
and really, I think something I have learned from this. And sure, and we will have the videos on. We will upload all these recorded videos on our YouTube channel, which we already passed this on the chat box. All the links here. I think we can wrap up now, because there's only us.
Thanks, Anand. Thanks for your time and for this wonderful learning opportunity and share your experience with us. So I hope everyone here actually have something new to think about and to practice by themselves. So it's a new learning for us. Thank you so much.
Honor is mine, sir.
Thank you, Anand.
All right, thank you, and have a wonderful weekend ahead. Stay safe, stay blessed. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye, Anand.